From architecture to painting and sculpture, literature to live music and theater. Radio 111 presents Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza with The Desert Scene, your connection to culture and entertainment in the desert cities. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
Hey, welcome to The Desert Scene. We have a very special episode, Overrated Artists.
Yay!
Woo! Yes. Oh, this one's going to be one of my favorites because the topic of what is overrated. So I'll define that. Basically, for me, overrated is when the popular consensus tells you that the artist is so good, so amazing, but maybe the image of the artist as being amazing isn't quite the reality.
It's not reality, yes. Good way to put it.
Isn't quite the reality. And again, if you love these artists, just remember it's for fun.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Yeah, don't send nasty letters to,
And feel free to send a letter if you agree.
Opinion. This is our opinion.
Of course. Feel free to comment something. What is an overrated artist? But I'll start with my first, Ben Platt. When it comes to Broadway, Ben Platt did Dear Evan Hansen. He played the character Evan Hansen. I'll show you a picture right here just in case if you don't know him. But he has done a lot of let's say television work where I'm like, you know what? Maybe that one performance in 2000 and whatever, like 2015. I was gonna say 2005, but wrong decade. 2015. I think that was the height, and I think we're good. I think that's it. So that's my first one. I wanted to know what's your first one?
I didn't break it down to Broadway, so you may have more than I do. But for an actor, this happens to be movies, all movies and television. And we talked about this before. I mean, I like him as a person. He seems like a very nice guy, and I like his. I've seen things on Facebook where he talks about life coaching and advice on believing in yourself, which I think is all great. But strictly from an acting perspective, I think Will Smith's a little overrated. I think he kind of plays himself. For the most part. I
think there was a point where Will Smith. I think there are a few points in his career where he is allowed to play other people, like Richard Williams. If you get the chance, watch King Richard.
I will try, yeah.
Or The Pursuit of Happiness. But I think there are times where like his persona is so noticeable and so charismatic.
It overwhelms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I would even say like maybe even the most, I'm not saying egregious, but the most obvious one is his TV show, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Did you ever get to see that one?
I didn't. I never watched it when it was on. I've seen clips here and there when people talk about his career. Here's a clip of, I never watched the whole show when it came out.
But you know what? The fact is that the fact that he is so charismatic that even himself, playing himself, can get him like a lot of fame. That's saying something about him as a person.
And like I said, I like him as a person and as a persona and as a celebrity. There's some people that come across as really obnoxious, and he doesn't. He just comes across as a nice guy. So. And
I wanted to add like another actress. For me, an actress that I have sort of an issue with is for one performance. Renee Zellweger when she played Judy Garland.
See, I never saw the movie with her doing Judy.
But Renee Zellweger I like her in a lot of things, but I feel like just like another actress that I have, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Which I agree with you on that. She's mine, yeah.
She won for a movie that she did not deserve it. Like Renee Zellweger should have given that to Saoirse Ronan for Little Women, but Gwyneth Paltrow, tell us about her.
Well, of course, she won her Oscar for Shakespeare in Love way back when. She's fine. There's nothing wrong. I just don't think that her acting skills are that strong. And I have to. When the reality is, okay, maybe it's colored a little bit by. She has developed a reputation over the years of being a very spoiled and entitled Hollywood celebrity, and has the company Goop. I don't know if that's her website or a product, and she sells products for like outrageous amounts of money. She's kind of gotten that. And she grew up. Was born into Hollywood. Blythe Danner is her mother, and I forget the gentleman. Bruce Paltrow. She was born into Hollywood royalty, so she didn't have to scratch her way into the top, and that she apparently is really got this entitled attitude and is kind of a real spoiled Hollywood celebrity. So that maybe colored a little bit.
And I also think that some of her like early acting decisions have aged pretty badly, like Shallow Hal, the movie where she plays the skinny version of a chubby girl.
Yeah.
That has aged pretty badly because nowadays it's like, you know, the chubby girl can be pretty on her own. Like I've seen movies where Melissa McCarthy's a beautiful woman.
Yeah, now that standards have changed, I think, a lot lately.
And back then, you know, and Gwyneth Paltrow said it was a bad role, and she agrees. She would agree with you. So if you brought it up to her, she'll tell you Shallow Hal sucked too. But it's one of those things where like I personally, I think for me, I liked her in Emma and those types of roles, but I certainly don't like value her performance in Shakespeare in Love because I feel like that was a year where a lot of great performances had come out.
I don't remember who she was up against that year.
In 1999, no. It was like 1998. She was up against, if I'm correct, I think she was up against. That's actually a really hard question. Is because like I'm trying to remember like who she was up against, but it's often cited as like one of the most competitive years.
I think some people were surprised that she won, as I recall.
Yeah, Cate Blanchett for Elizabeth.
Okay, well there you go. She
was also up against. I think this one should have won. I forget it's this year. Fernanda Montenegro for Central Station, and then Emily Watson for Hillary and Jackie.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Those performances, you know, in hindsight have aged better. But I wanted to move on to Christina Aguilera. Okay. This is an artist where I think she has a lot of force in her voice, but no soul. That's
interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, she has a great instrument. She has pipes. But that's an interest. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it from that standpoint. Okay.
Because like she's like, she does it, but as you can tell,
you don't feel it.
But I don't feel it. Like it's like if someone punched you and you're like, what's the meaning of this? Like,
no, that's important. I think that's a huge issue. Of course, mine, you know, and this was the first one I came up with as far as overrated singer is Taylor Swift. I'm sorry. I just don't get it. She's not that great. I mean,
I think some songs I like, but overall I'm not big of a fan.
I think she's this idol for teenage girls, you know, who like to dance around, and that one song "Shake It Off," you know, I get, but she's just. I don't get the hype. I just don't get the hype.
It's sort of like, would you say you get sometimes the songs, but not the star quality? Like you don't understand why she's that big of a star?
I mean, she's not that great a singer. Oh, yeah. And I know she writes stuff, and some of it's okay. I mean, it's just not I don't really follow her closely because she's not my thing. But I just, I don't see, again, I don't think the hype matches the reality.
Now, there's one artist named Johnny Rotten who does punk music for the Sex Pistols.
I don't really know. I mean, I know the name, but I don't know any of his stuff. Yeah. So
let's just say like the Sex Pistols is more famous for Bad Things rather than like for the music. And Johnny Rotten is an example of sometimes an image is enough, just like Bob Dylan.
Yes. God, for me, that would be torture. You put me in a room and just if I had to listen to Bob Dylan for hours, I think I would lose my mind.
Bob Dylan is a great songwriter.
He's a poet. He's a poet.
You know, publish his songs and poetry, you know, publish a book of his lyrics. But if someone were to ask me, like, is he a good singer? I'd say, you need to hear this and tell me if he's a good singer. You tell me if he's a good singer. Don't ask me. You tell me. No. Because I've heard people say like, oh, the times they are changing. I'm like, that's the only song where his singing is like resembling good.
I'd still rather hear someone else sing the song, but
you know, it's funny because someone said, like, so why do you listen to Bob Dylan? I said, you know what, Bob Dylan has a vibe to it a little bit in the right mood, but I don't think he's a good singer. And even his biggest fans would probably tell you he's not a good singer. I've never heard a single person tell me Bob Dylan's a good singer. Yeah. But he is, you know, the fact is he is not considered one of the greatest singers. He is considered one of the greatest songwriters.
Well, okay. And he's a poet. That's a very different thing.
Certainly.
Very different thing.
Now, did you have another one that you want to?
No, but I'll if you have some, I'm happy to comment on them.
I have one more. It's Lea Michele. Lea Michele. She was on Glee.
Okay. And I I think I've heard her, but I don't remember. So
she's one of those people that she gets put on Broadway and stuff like that. She played the very mean girl Rachel, and it turns out in real life she's just as mean.
I have heard some bad things about her personally. Yeah.
And for me, I watched the show and I realized her singing abilities don't justify her casting. So that, you know how like they always say that people get mad let's just say people get mad when a show comes back and not everyone comes back like
with it, yeah,
like Sex and the City and the new Law and Order. Well, Glee is the opposite, where everyone would be mad if everyone came back.
Yeah, please don't bring this person back.
Please don't bring Leah Michelle.
Yeah.
But she is, I'm gonna say it, she did not justify her bad behavior by her singing. And I've seen some times where I'm like, you know what, the good singing, the good performance was here. So maybe behind the scenes action was horrible, but you know, the performances, but not in this case. I was like, both the person and the song.
Yeah. So we'll do another episode down the road on underrated people.
And I love that, because honestly, we need to amplify people we love.
Yes.
But overall, those were the overrated artists.
Yes.
Not quite fitting the reality of their greatness.
All right. We'll talk to you next time on The Desert Scene.